when I looked into his eyes, he was like, "Yo, listen." I could see what he wasn't even saying. Basically, he's in his 40s. He's married with two kids, and he was basically like, essentially, this is my last shot. Like when I look at my life, I've just been providing for my family, doing what I have to. It's like life just happens. You get married, you have kids,
Mm,
just have to work to provide. And he was like, "This is my passion. This is what I want to do." And I was like, "Yo, when I get to his age, I want to be able to say that I pursued what was mine." Because I mean, when you
mm,
think about a midlife crisis, what's a midlife crisis? It's a man or woman who realize it's not just facing her own mortality, right? It's like I literally did not do what I wanted or what I could have done with the
wow.
year before.
Hey, what's going on? It is Lionel Mosby Jr., and you're now in with the Lion and the Lambo, and I'm here with my good friend. Let me tell you, it's nothing like meeting somebody who's just been married. I mean, we got married, within a small frame of time together, right? And so it's
Yes,
been a
sir.
blessing to connect with him and his wife, being connected with me and my wife down here in Houston, Texas, right? So what's going on, Phil? How you doing, man? How you doing today?
I'm chilling, man. How you doing, Lionel?
Man, I'm doing great, man. It's been such a great blessing. It's so crazy how the Lord just kind of connects people, in these moments in time, and then friendships just grow and just blossom. I actually remember, us connecting that Sabbath morning, right? Going out, doing some outreach in the afternoon, and from there, man, we've just been connecting since then. And it's definitely been a blessing, man, to have you as a part of my life experience now, man. So that's been great.
Yes, sir. Likewise, I remember that, and one of the prayers that we had as a couple was to, find other young couples that we could connect with. And, God answered that prayer on that day. And it's been great hanging out with you and your wife and just vibing off of entrepreneurship because we're kind of both on that journey.
Yeah, man, it's so awesome to find out that you are also on that entrepreneurship journey. So I'm so excited about that, man. And I actually want to ask you, I always ask my guests, one of the first questions I always ask them is, what has been, if you have to just choose one thing that you say, man, this has been my biggest win to this so far in entrepreneurship, what would you say that win is?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I mean, the biggest win I would have to say is all the knowledge I picked up and having to meet
Mm,
my objectives. You know, you pick up so much knowledge and like for instance Facebook ads, which I'm doing right now. Like I'm learning about Pixel, I'm learning about how Apple iOS has a they have a lot of restrictions, privacy restrictions that are
mm.
affecting, so I'm up to speed on a lot of stuff that if I hadn't been actively doing it myself I wouldn't have learned. That comes from to ads, programming, data management, database management, like everything. I'm just learning everything. And I think
Mm.
that those lessons will better equip me to handle the challenges that I'll face down the road.
Man, it's so true. Sometimes we kind of take it for granted of the process, right? And what we learn along the way. Luke 16:10 talks about he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful in that which is much, right? And so
Sure.
as we're building, right, along that journey, that is some of the most important things, some of the most important lessons that we can learn. And so it's so true. And I'm happy you shared that because I know somebody out there may be taken for granted, right? All the knowledge and information, all the skills that they're gaining along the way as they're trying to reach their goal. They're looking like I haven't reached my goal yet, but man, all that stuff that you've gathered, right, and garnered up to this point is a blessing in and of itself, right? And so I just want to start, just going back, right? Because, I know all of us have that journey, have that walk and that experience that we've gone through, right? And so I
Mhm.
want to know from you, was entrepreneurship always something that, from a young age you thought about, owning your own, having your own, or was that something that grew over time? Can you tell us a little bit about your kind of upbringing and your first connection with entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I've always been creative. I remember for the science fair when I was in middle school, I made like a microwave. It wasn't a real microwave. It was like a steamer in like a paper box.
Okay.
And it like steamed your food, But like I always wanted to create stuff.
Mm,
So when I went to school, did engineering, whatnot, and I went into patent law for about 8 years. And all throughout that journey of working as a patent attorney, I felt like, yo, like I really hate this. Like this doesn't jive with my science side. I'm predominantly like math and like science,
Mhm.
physics, and it's law is a lot more subjective. It's about arguments. It's a lot of writing and reading, which I'm a numbers guy, right? So, but I kind of felt the pull, like, hey, I've invested so much, I may as well keep going, right?
Mm.
And at the same time, like, I feel like I accumulated so much knowledge throughout the years, and I'm like, I should be building something for myself. I feel like God has given me so many gifts that it's like, why am I not applying this to something that's meaningful for me? And what really hit me was when I realized that I was at the top of my career. Like, I was making enough money to not even care about what I was buying, and I was just depressed. Like, quite honestly, it was
Mm.
just like, yo, I'm not happy. I'm
Right.
not. I don't like going into work. I don't like what I'm doing. I'm not happy with my life. And I realized, man, like, in school, I always enjoyed school. I always enjoyed doing a lot of things at the same time. Like, I can handle a lot, right? So it's like, why am I not able to do this? And I realized it's like you can't ask a fish to win a tree climbing contest, right? Like, that's not his ministry, right? So it's just like you keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. It's just like it's just not going to work on this side of the Jordan, right? So it's kind
Right. Right.
of, I realized there are things that I could do, and when I talk to people, they said, "Oh, work is it's not supposed to be fun. Sometimes
Mm.
you just go to work to make money, and then do your hobby on the side." But that has some truth to it, and there are some things I could have done. Maybe be a math teacher, math professor, physics. That would have been like something I could bear or do, like, without it sucking life out of me. But what I realized in my profession was actually draining me. It wasn't like
Mm.
it's just keeping me stable, and like I'm like doing like rock climbing on the weekends because I'm a passionate rock climber. I'm not, but just a random thing. But so I realized, dang, like, I need to do something that's giving me life, right? Like, we have how many years on this earth? Like, I
Yeah.
want to reinvigorate myself with my work. And so that's when I was just like, being married is kind of what prompted me to finally take that leap.
Mm.
With my wife Nayla, and I was like, yo, I don't really like what I'm doing, and here's this idea I've been toying with over the past couple of years, and why don't we just go for it right now? And I saw, quote unquote, the stars aligning, like, and you know, I have to thank my wife because had it not been for her support, had it not been for her
Hmm.
way, um, and her ideas that have helped propel this, it wouldn't have come together. And yeah, a combination of that and us wanting to do ministry together,
Right.
we recently joined Adventist Young Professionals as the global director of programming and assistant global director of programming, and
Mm.
that's also putting us in touch with a lot of other Adventist young professionals. So it's like
Right.
I'm just kind of aligning everything where I'm in the target market that I want to be in
Right.
for the website that I'm building and for ministry, right? Because one of the things that we wanted to do was do ministry together. We didn't want to, like, me playing the piano on one side and then, her greeting, and it's like
Right.
Sabbath day brings us apart. So we want to stay together, right? So we had these
Right.
objectives, and God has kind of is bringing them together, So I don't know if I answered
That's
your
awesome.
question. That was a
No,
long,
it
yeah,
it de- it definitely did. It actually took me back to me remembering being at TDA, right? Texas Department of Agriculture. I was there for almost 5 years. And I remember, early on when I was hired, just having this thought process that I'm not gonna be here forever, like 3 to 5 years. I would just remember that ringing in my head, 3 to 5 years, because it really was a position that I was in, and I felt like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what am I accomplishing? What goal am I aiming for? What am I, what thing am I doing that's impacting the world, right? And
yeah.
and I couldn't see that, right? I couldn't see how even my service at work was really benefiting anybody. And so that reminds me of that when you were talking about you being in that position and trying to find something that is for you, and how it was physically draining. It's crazy because the truth is that's how many, 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 many people in this country are finding themselves in that position, right? Many of our brothers and sisters, right, our fellow believers find themselves in that position, and for some reason, like you say, somebody who mentioned that to you had that mindset and that thought process that, look, well, this is what you're supposed to do, right? You know what I'm saying? It's not supposed to be fun.
Mhm.
Why do you think that that's a mindset that the believers have, that we don't have this mindset that we should feel fulfilled in all areas of life, and that includes our life work and our purpose?
Yeah, I mean, when I break it down in my mind, the best way I can understand it is that my family comes from Haiti, and a lot of being African Americans, we Black African American, African diaspora, however you want to label it, we come from a survival mindset, right? And
Mm,
it's just not our ethnicity, it's other ethnicities too, right? It could be anyone, right? But I can only speak about my background, right? So
hmm
not in detail. So coming from Haiti, right, the pinnacle of success was having a stable 9 to 5 job. Like if you
mm,
are a doctor in Haiti, making doctor money, you are respected at the top of the community. You can go see a doctor without having to pay. Your
right.
family can go. It's just like you're okay, and there's no concept of savings. There's no concept of investing. Because it's literally like a hand to mouth existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, I've reached the top. I'm a doctor, whatever. But that completely unprepares immigrants when they come here for what the
Mm,
reality is in the States, right? So for them, it's like, oh, get a 9 to 5 because that was success back home. But it's like that's not success here. Like, had I been born and raised in Haiti, I may have been fine, right? But being here, it's like, wait a second, this is the greatest country in the world. Like, I can do anything I want. People make money on podcasts, YouTube,
yeah.
whatever. Like, whatever you put your mind to and you invest your energy in, you will make money doing. Like,
Yeah.
point blank. So it's like, at the end of the day, when I retire, it's like, if I stayed a patent attorney writing patents on useless technology, useful technology that I didn't really care about, right? It's one of those things like, it's like, who do I have to blame? It's like me.
mm,
I didn't grow up in Haiti.
mm,
Like I had one shot at like just being a doctor or like a engineer. It's like
right.
so when I reach that point, I feel like people have that mindset where it's like you have to do this because it's like I'm like, or else what? Like, or else how many people do you know that are like living on the streets because they try to start a business? Like I don't know many. Like there are ways that if you plan it out, there are contingencies, there are different ways you can pivot throughout life. And it's sort of like taking the training wheels off and saying, listen, like I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid
Mm,
this doesn't work because I'm going to learn stuff and I can always go back if I really need to. I can always go back. My license has not
yeah.
expired, and it's just sort of like operating in that freedom. And it's actually a spiritual principle because it's like
Yeah.
God has not given us a spirit of fear.
Come on.
Why am I fearful that it's not
Yeah.
going to work out? Right?
Yeah.
Like, even that we couch our fear in like in this package that makes it seem more sanctified. It makes it seem more like wise, right? It's like, oh no, don't do this. It's like if this doesn't work, if this website doesn't work, then what? It's
Mm,
like nothing's gonna happen, right? Like so I feel like the
mm,
mindset for a lot of people is it's a sink or swim. It's sort of like if this fails, and even like taking a year off to like in between high school and college. A lot of parents are like, don't do that, right? But
yeah.
during the year of missionary work, whatever a kid does, they can learn a lot about themselves. They can learn about what they actually want to study in college or what they want to study in grad school, whatever it might be. I have a cousin that took a year off between college and med school. He deferred
Mm,
his acceptance and then went to med school after, and it's just like he loved it, right? And timing is so important when it comes to these things because for my last year of law school, I went to France to study abroad.
mm.
It was like one of the best years of my life as a student,
Wow.
best year. And I've been there multiple times again after, right? And
Mm-hmm.
nothing can top that one experience, right? And what's the difference? The difference was that I was a young man. I was, just worried about school. I was accomplishing a master's and a law degree, and I was learning a language. The confluence of all these things made it such an amazing experience. Meeting people,
Mm,
going to church. You go now it's different. Like
right.
I'm at a different place mentally, I'm at a different place physically. And so a lot of times
True.
prevent people from striking the iron when it's hot, right?
Yeah.
And so you can do it later, but it's like, no, this is the moment. It's like don't let fear get you
Mm,
because there's fear is irrational, essentially what it is.
mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It says that, I mean, even in the verse itself, right? God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind, right? So that shows the contrast between fear and a sound mind,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of times we're not operating rationally when we're operating from fear. And it's so funny that you say that because it's just so funny the parallels, right? Because I remember talking to my mom and I had that same conversation, made that same statement. I'm like, it's like when we're so low to the ground, right? Like
Yeah.
we haven't done some great thing. We haven't accomplished so much. We haven't climbed this big ladder, right? And yet we're afraid to jump, not realizing, like, bro, we a step or two off the ground. Like,
Yeah.
even if we hit the ground, it's like you're just gonna get back up. Like, you're not
Yeah.
even gonna die, you're not gonna kill yourself, you're not gonna drown. Like, no, you're gonna get right back up and you can keep going. It'd be different if you were saying, oh, I'm way up, I'm on the top of the mountain and I'm gonna jump. That would be totally different, right? And so it's so crazy to see this contrast of mindsets between people who have climbed a certain portion of the mountain, right?
Yeah.
People who are going on the way up, right? And their willingness to jump out and try something different, their willingness to go out on the limb, right? To put their efforts behind something versus those of us, right, who we were in that position where we were looking and saying, man, we're right here. What if it doesn't work? You know,
Yeah.
I always was thinking, like, you know what? If I never jump, that would be the worst thing, because I would never know if I could accomplish this thing
Exactly.
that I really believe I can accomplish. You know what I mean? And that's the most fearful, is like, I don't want to not accomplish the thing because I didn't try.
Yeah.
You know, that would be the worst. You know what I mean? That would just be the worst, man. So I'm so happy that you jumped out there, right? You know, I'm so happy that you approached,
Sure.
you know, your lovely bride, right? And she was so willing, right? And to go on this journey with you. You know, what was that experience like, right? You know, to come as a newly married man, right? To approach your wife, right, who you just got married, right? You know, we've been planning for this wedding. We put this together, right? Our families have evolved, right? We've tied the knot. Now we just going in our journey, and now you about to say, hey, you know, I think I want to go in this different direction, right? What were kind of the emotions that you were going through, right? And how was just kind of that experience? Because I know somebody else is in that position right now, right? Some gentleman or some lady, right, is in that exact position, and you know they want to know kind of what that was feeling like.
Yeah. I mean, things that cross my mind is like, what are my parents gonna think? What are my friends gonna think?
Mm,
Um,
mm,
it's not just me anymore. I'm responsible for
yeah,
her. When we have kids, I'm responsible for the kids. And you know, it was just, I'll explain kind of like the fears I had and what kind of helped me overcome it. So those were
yeah,
some of the fears. Are people going to say irresponsible? I had kind of tried to launch the site 5 years ago. So as you probably can imagine, when you attempt something once and it doesn't work, then you have those thoughts of like, maybe it wasn't meant to be, maybe like I just need to drop it, maybe whatever. So I had those thoughts. Um, I have thoughts of, this is not the person, or this is not what she signed up for. Like, she signed up for what I was doing before, and now I'm switching. So it's a lot of different thoughts, you know. But one of the things that kind of hit me was, you know, God kind of pushed me because He allowed the situation at my job to reach a boiling point where I was
mm,
just like, this is just, I'm done, right? And it's sort of a testimony, but essentially, I asked to leave, and because of the situation, and yet I was given severance, right? Which is
mm,
which is doesn't happen, right? Like, you get severance when you get um, laid off, right? So God was kind of opening up the way, and he made, you know, he makes things uncomfortable to make us move sometimes. I don't think I would have
yeah,
left unless it was uncomfortable. So the
mm,
situation was comfortable, and I had these thoughts already, and it was like God was like, boom. And then on top of that,
yeah,
I went to the wedding and I met my cousin. He's probably in his 40s or whatever, and he
hmm,
was telling me about how he was trying to start a business, um, and when I looked into his eyes, he was like, "Yo, listen." I could see what he wasn't even saying. Basically, he's in his 40s. He's married with two kids, and he was basically like, essentially, this is my last shot. Like, when I look at my life, I've just been providing for my family, doing what I have to. You know, it's like, you know, life just happens. You get married, you have kids,
mm,
just have to work to provide. And he was like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And I was like, yo, when I get to his age, I want to be able to say that I pursued what was mine. Because I mean, when you
mm,
think about a midlife crisis, what's a midlife crisis? It's a man or woman who realize it's not just facing her own mortality, right? It's like, I literally did not do what I wanted or what I could have done with the
wow,
year before. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So talking with him was part of the catalyst. And the situation at work, I was just like, this is this is it. But you know, it it can be scary, you know, because
Yeah.
marriage, first time I'm married, right? Like, so I don't know. It's like everything is new, every experience is new, and it's like now I'm throwing this extra change. So it was tough, but essentially, you know, I believe in myself. Essentially, what it
Yeah.
came down to, like, I believe, like, deep down inside that I can make it. Like, no matter what, I can pivot, I can move, and you know, I think God gives us that inner courage to do that. And
Mm.
your spouse or your friends buy into that, that also gives you strength to continue on in that journey. So yeah.
Hey, I know you've been watching this episode, and I know you've been wondering, like, how can I impact the world as a biblical entrepreneur? Well, one way that you can impact the world as a biblical entrepreneur is to wear the uniform of biblical entrepreneurs, right? Look, we have designs for both men and women so that they can actually wear what they are and what they are becoming. So if you are a biblical entrepreneur, visit www.lionelmosby.com. That's www.lionelmosby.com so you can get the merch that proves that you are about impacting the world. Let's get back to the episode. That's so true. That's so important, right? To have a village of people around us that we can hold on to. And at the end of the day, right, like it was something placed inside of you because, like you said, this wasn't even something that was a new thought process. This is something that you said, like this came into your mind, right? This came to your radar years ago. You said back in 2015, right? So,
Yeah.
well, I want to know, like, what was it that made you say, okay, I want to put something together for the benefit of this target audience, the benefit of this community, right? And you can kind of tell us a little bit about the website, right, and what it is that you're seeking to do, and also kind of where did that desire come from?
Yeah. So end of 2014, maybe beginning of 2015, I was single. I was in California, San Diego, and I was looking, wasn't really seeing the one that God had for me, right? And I was just like, yo, like we do everything online, Amazon, shopping, like everything we do is online, right? Banking. So why can't I find the one that God has for me online? And I went online and I went on some websites that were available at the time, and they were subpar. Like they were subpar. Even though my wife and I eventually met on one of those websites, right? Um, we the functionality, like the makeup, it's just bare bones. Like here, meet each other, and it's like it was rough. And I said, you know what,
Mm,
I could do a better job. I believe
mm,
I could do a better job, and I know that whatever I'm passionate about, whatever I put my mind to, like the sky's the limit. Like, and so I was like, and I already am passionate about relationships. Before I was
yeah.
married, before it's like in San Diego, the care group, the Bible study over there, they would always say that's my favorite topic, and it was because it was just like, listen, like from uh, race relations and like intercultural, multicultural relationships, to like parents, dynamics, dating, like those
Right.
topics have always kind of been interesting to me, right? I
Mm-hmm.
love to talk about because the building block of society is the family. The
Yep.
building block of the family, really, when you get down to, is the parents, and it's that relationship, that romantic relationship, is what defines society, defines our spirituality,
Mm,
defines everything. So it's just like the center. It's like the conversation that keeps on giving, and I had that passion and I had a need, and I was like, it just came together. I was like, let me build a site.
yeah.
So I I contacted some developers in another country and worked with them to build the site. It was my first time. So one mistake I made was so Ember is a online dating site for Seventh-day Adventists,
Mm-hmm.
Christians. It's meant to help bridge the gap. You know, now during COVID, when there's so many churches that are closed, people that are scared to go to church because even though they're open, um, and right now online dating it just sucks. Like no one likes to go on there. It's just, some people call it a meat market. It's just a bunch of people. A lot of women complain about guys spamming them. Um, and for a lot of introverted people or even extroverted people, it's hard to start up a conversation. So on Ember, we have different ways. We have suggested conversation starters in the messaging
Mm,
panel to help you spark that conversation. We also have multiplayer games where you can play like tic tac toe, Connect Four, bowling with these other people. So I don't even have to talk to you. Like it's just like boom, you want to play bowling? All right, bet. And then you can now talk and laugh about what happened in the game to start the conversation. So we have
Mm.
things that like, and that's not found on any dating website, not eHarmony,
Right.
not Christian Mingle, none of those. Not so it's one of those things where because I was online dating for so many years, like to me, I am the target market. It's like I literally know like all these websites by hand, and I can talk to someone here and there to get cool ideas, but I know like what these websites are missing.
Right.
So
Right.
it's one of those things where so we came together and we said, yo, let's build this website. And I the website didn't grow as fast as I wanted to in 2015. I think we had maybe 100 members on there, and I made some rookie mistakes in the sense that we have match questions. Our algorithm matches people based on. So if you say you like to play basketball, and someone else says, Amuja says, "Oh, I really hate basketball," we're going to take that to account. But if you say on the importance scale, if you say this is like a big deal to me, then that question is going to be weighted higher. If you say it's not a big deal to me,
Mm.
so in essence, we have a bunch of questions about lifestyle and stuff. What I did is
Mm.
I front loaded those questions during registration. So we had like 60 questions that you had to answer before logging in. So as you
Got
probably
you.
know, it's like that friction when you're trying to get someone to sign up for something, you need to limit all forms of friction. Like don't ask them to verify their email, don't ask them none of that stuff. I just want you in my site. So that was something I learned. And even with that friction, we had 100 people sign up. But
Right.
it was like I was kind of it wasn't growing as fast as I wanted to, and I didn't really have that support to be like, yo, keep doing this. This is what you need to adjust. And that was what is it, 7 years ago? So if had I
Right.
continued with that, we would have been in a different place, right? But I do think it's beautiful that I'm able to relaunch with my wife because now it's like a joint ministry, and this time the website design is updated. It's a lot better. The functionality is like conversation starters and games that wasn't there before. So in
Hmm.
essence, it's a completely different website.
Right.
And so yeah, that's kind of the story. So after I dropped that, I for about 7 years I did continued on with law, and I flirted with leaving law so many times. Like I can't even
Right.
in law school I wanted to leave. 1 year into law, working at a firm in San Diego, I wanted to leave. Like at every point, I wanted to leave, but it was like, oh, whatever, the money, this is all I really know how to do professionally.
Mm.
Even if I wanted to pivot to another form of law, like trial law or like corporate law, I'd have to start from year one. So like I'd be
Mm.
making year one money instead of year seven money, and so, but all those things got pushed aside when I really looked at life through a biblical lens of like no fear and just try it
Mm.
out. Just try it out and be persistent. And yeah,
And that's awesome though, man. And like you say, right now you're in a position where you and Ayla are able to actually build this thing. Over this last 7 years, you've learned so much that you're now putting into this website, right? Because of the need that you had. And it's amazing to me to see over and over again how businesses are created because of need.
yeah,
Businesses are created because of need, right? And so that needs that we have that we actually create solutions for that. Guess what? We could turn around and say, hey, this is a solution for your problem as well, because you're not the only person with that problem, right?
yeah,
You're not the only person that's looking around and saying, you know what, there's not a lot of people in my locality, right, that I could build and connect with, right? But the online space for dating is horrible.
yeah,
You know what I mean? There are other people who recognize that, but who is going to be that front runner to go and say, okay, I'm going to put my energy, I'm going to put my effort, I'm going to put my time, right? I'm going to put my finances behind creating something that doesn't just benefit me, but also benefits others. And just as you said, you were able to find your wife online. And so it's not something that doesn't work, because I think that's one of the first things, the first barriers that, I feel like a lot of people would have is this something that's actually going to work, right? Am I going to get catfished? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so I mean, how do you respond to people who kind of have that thought process, the mindset of like, I'm kind of, don't want to deal with the online dating because of, some of those fears.
Yeah, I was recently talking to someone about that, and like what we find is that in a lot of present truth circles, more conservative circles, or traditional circles,
Hmm.
women want to be women. They want to be pursued, right? So it's like outside of being catfish, it's like by me making a profile and putting myself out there, I'm like putting myself on the market. Like I'm
Mm,
desperate, right? And the reality is that, biblically speaking, you can be a woman, you can be womanly and feminine, and still position yourself to get God. You know what I'm saying? Like
mm,
when you look at the story of Ruth, if Ruth had sat at home or just stayed in the fields all day, she would have never been in Jesus's line, lineage, right? She would have never
mm,
married Boaz, because at the end of the day, she needed that mentorship of Naomi to say, "Yo, listen,
mm,
when he goes to sleep, go lay down by his feet, because this is what this means in our culture." And
mm.
if he puts his thing over you, right? His rag, or I forget, I'm summarizing, right? But if he covers you, right, then that means he accepts you in marriage, right? So it's just like she was strategic. She was like, she
Right,
made a profile on Ember, right? And said, I'm putting myself out there, but
right.
Boaz initiate that, right? So biblically speaking, this is like, I don't know how many years before Christ, maybe 1,000 years before Christ. So we're
Hmm.
talking about something where it's like way before, Ellen White or anyone. This is what women had to do. You had to be strategic.
Mm,
And I think you can be strategic and still be feminine and still be godly and still keep that biblical order of what a household should look like. So I
mm.
would just say, look at it as going to church. If you go to GYC or ASI, or if you go to an AYP event, and you're single, deep down inside, you're kind of hoping you meet someone, right? And it's the
Right.
same thing. You sign up for Ember, you can play games, you can hang out, whatever, but you hope to meet someone. So actually, just take the pressure off of it. You don't gotta like
Mm,
announce it to the world, because people are gonna fill your mind with stuff. Just create your
right.
profile. If you see someone that you don't want to see you, like a church member or an ex or whatever it might be, you can always block that person, and they won't be able to see your profile. You won't be able to see that.
Mm,
So there are ways that you can navigate the website in a way that will make you feel comfortable. Uh,
right.
yeah,
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah.
That's definitely awesome. Go
And one
ahead.
more thing, being catfished, you can always report users too. We have a reporting mechanism for that, and just make sure
That's
you
big.
you talk to people on the phone. Try to video chat. If people give excuses about not being in a video chat, that's a dead giveaway. But
Right.
catfish, you know, if someone asks you for money, if someone asks you for, we have an online safety page where you can actually go through and see our tips for staying safe.
Mm,
But
gotcha.
yeah,
Because there are some thoughts that have gone through in that to try to keep everybody on the up and up, because it is something. It's just like anything, though, right? Whether you meet somebody in person or online, right? You got to kind of take these precautions and kind of feel it out to know what you're doing. But I do like the fact that you say you got those games on there. That is pretty cool, and that's something I have never heard before, right? And it definitely is a great icebreaker. It just makes me think about how we have these young adult events, right? And we have these game nights, right? It's a chance for us to come to meet together. Is that something that you guys would have maybe in the future, of having maybe like these group game night, like get together, right, where people on the site can connect with one another and things like that?
that's a good idea. So we were thinking about having a launch party at a local church in Houston, and we didn't really crystallize what we were going to do. But I think that's a great idea. If we get everyone there and you just play games with people that are either online somewhere else or right there with you in the room, that could be a really good way to kind of introduce Ember to Houston and to the world. Um, and I wanted to touch on one thing that you
Yeah.
mentioned in your engineering your vision, series, that kind of jumping out to me. You had mentioned that you have all the tools right now that you need to accomplish what you want to accomplish, right? Like right
Hmm.
now. And I give God thanks for my whole legal journey, because my mom started a business as well, and
Mm.
she's really passionate about it. It's a vegan Alfredo business, and she's
Oh,
a really good
awesome.
recipe. Like I grew up on it, it's so good, and she's been grinding on that. So like being a patent attorney, I work with trademarks, copyrights, patents, right?
Right.
When it comes to trademarks, my mom needs a trademark. I'm like, for her birthday on February 3rd, I was like, "Happy birthday, mom! Here's your trademark." Right?
Wow, that
Yeah,
is so
so like
awesome.
she doesn't need to hire an attorney to do that. It's like I got you with intellectual property, right? So
Yeah.
for the Ember trademark, right? And this is the first time I've ever had to do this, right? So I was
Hmm.
going online searching Ember dating, whatever, to see what other competition was out there. People were stealing our branding, and I saw a Facebook page that had like Ember and it was like dating. I was like, that's not us. And so I reported them to Facebook. I uploaded a copy, a certificate of our trademark, showed them that we were protected in the dating online dating space. Within like 3 hours, Facebook took them down, and I was just like, that is that's the power of IP, man. Like that's
Wow.
to be able to just be like, take this down. This is my territory, right? So IP
Yeah.
law, being able to do that has been a real help. Not only from like the LLC documents to just understanding legal jargon to protecting IP. It's God kind of uses everything
Yes.
you have to push the vision that He's given you. So
Mm.
yeah,
That's man, that is awesome, and that is so true. And how you can be able to use all these little pieces that you picked up along the way. And I used to think before, a couple of years back, I was thinking like, why did I ever do this in my life? And it was only until later down the line that I realized that's why I did that. That's why God had me go through that, because it almost seems like something that's completely an outlier to what your life goal or purpose is. But
yeah,
it's lessons you learned, this skills that you picked up that at some point in time is going to be useful. I mean, same way that now you're using this information for what you're actually doing, the intellectual property that you're actually building, that you
yeah,
actually own, which is even more exciting because like it's your own, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
not anybody else stuff anymore. So that's definitely pretty cool. So I know that you guys are actually coming out and gonna be launching very, very soon, right? I know right now you have the people have the ability to go on and sign up, right? How does that process work, or how would they go and to be able to connect and find out more about Ember?
Yeah, so if you go to emberspot.com, it's EMBER spot SPOT.com. Go to the homepage, you click join now. It's 4 easy modal pop-ups that come up that ask you basic information like your name, your date of birth. We got to make sure you're older than 18. We ask you for your height, some basic information just so we can populate your profile. And then you just click done, boom, and you're registered. So right now registration is officially open. So if you want to support, if you're looking, if you want to try it out, if you're thinking about trying out, just go on Ember Spot and register. It's very easy. It takes less than 2.5 minutes. And we are going to open up the site within a couple weeks, the full site. So you can go on there and interact with other people and so on and so forth. But for now, it's important that you register now so that by the time we open up the full site, you have people to choose from, right? So
Mm,
you may be that person that the person you're looking for is waiting for. So go ahead
yeah.
and sign up. And so when we email you on registration on our official like full website launch day, you'll be able to have a good pool of people to meet and to
Wow,
yeah,
that's so awesome. So it's like they getting in on the early stages of this whole Ember process, right? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Honestly, it's really exciting, you know what I'm saying? And that people who've gone through the process, who've connected online, is the one that's behind it, is also exciting as well. Because like you feel like you said, a lot of time these other places and sites are very bulky because it's just somebody who may have saw opportunity, right? They may have saw the need, right? But they didn't experience the need, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah, yeah.
mean? And so I guess my question for you, what are some things that you and your wife saw through your process of not just dating in person, but especially right with, dealing with the online dating, that you said these are specific issues that I know that we're going to be able to address through Ember, right? And I know you mentioned one earlier about, people who are introverted, right? You know what I'm saying? And having something to be able to kind of break the ice. But what are some other things that you guys specifically saw as these are issues with, the online dating world that we're going to want to address through Ember?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is the style factor. So a lot of these websites, the homepage is just drab. It lacks color. It lacks any sense of like wow, right? And your homepage is your front facing, I guess, door to the whole world. Like this is what everyone sees. It's your first impression. Within a couple seconds, they judge your website, right? So a lot of these websites, they just bank on you going there because you need to find someone, right? So they don't put a lot of effort into having a nice
Mm,
page. So we really took a lot of effort to design our homepage in a way that's visually appealing. Um, one of our main colors is orange. And so you'll see orange featured in a lot of different places on the website. Um, and we have a so that was one of the major things. The second thing I mentioned already was the games to kind of break the ice,
Mm-hmm.
conversation starters. What else was there? Some of them require too much. For instance, eHarmony, the sign up process takes like 40 minutes. Like it's
Mm.
pretty advanced. They try to use like psychology and AI and all sorts of stuff. So they'll show you like a box and they'll show you like a squiggly line and they'll be like, which one do you like best, right? And I guess if you pick the box, you're more of like a square person and like, got to get up at this time and do this and that. So they use all this stuff, which is cool, right? But then it's like, I don't want to spend 45 minutes signing up for your. And the only reason they can do that is because they're eHarmony. And it's like, oh, eHarmony, I'm going to do it. Right.
All
So
right.
time is money. People don't like stuff like when we were creating Ember, it was just like, listen, no one likes to sign up and put in their information, like no one. So we're only going to ask the most critical information before sign up. So we only ask you the
Mm.
most critical stuff, so you don't have to worry about putting out all this information and answering all these personal lifestyle questions that you may not be comfortable answering. So we made it shorter, registration shorter. We made the homepage a lot more appealing. We have ways to break the ice, and we also have a way that you can call people. Uh,
Mm.
so you enter your number when you sign up. It's hidden from everyone, so no one can see your number. Don't worry about it. They can request to see your number, but they'll be rejected unless you guys have already exchanged some messages with each other. And at that point,
Mm.
you'll have to accept whether you reveal your number to them.
That
So
is pretty cool.
yeah, to allow that to happen in a smoother way, because that also it can be a pain point when you're talking to someone online. You have to find
Mm.
an excuse like, oh, whatever, I don't come on here often. Can I get your number? Like, you have all these like lines and stuff, but it's like we have that built into our product, so you don't have to
Mm.
actually deal with that. We also have another feature called a voice note, a voice recording. And so when I go to set up my profile, I can record a 30-second clip of me just talking, right? Like, hey, I'm Phil, yada yada. This is what I do. I'll be happy to meet you. Shoot me a message. So that gives all the other users the opportunity to not only hear your voice, to kind of see that you're real, to get a sense of your personality. Because some people are going to talk really slowly, be like, oh, hey. And some people are going to be super bubbly, like, ah. And you can get a feel for the person, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So those are some of the main features that we have and that we're really pushing. Of course, you can like someone's page, you can have friend requests. We
Mm.
also have a discussion page where you can we might have a question like about roles in the home or like taking a man's last name, right? And you can go on there and like discuss, give your ideas, and go back and forth. And you can then reach out to people that you're more
Mm.
familiar with, or maybe not, just to continue the conversation. So it's like all these different avenues.
Yeah.
It's just we want you to communicate. Like our
Mm.
goal is for you to communicate with other people.
Yeah.
We don't care if it's games, we don't care if it's discussions, we don't care if it's like we want to make it easy for you to meet people. And so we've every conceivable way um, that we could think of. It's on Ember. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, it's really, as you were going through that, it kind of made me just feel like, man, this is almost like an online community that you're building, right? With the games, with the discussions, with the being able to send messages, right, and kind of hear people's tonality and things of that nature, right? Like, it's really kind of creating this kind of community that you can really get to know people while also not necessarily being this just straight on, right,
Yeah.
one-on-one contact per se, right? There's
Like speed
obviously that
dating, like
option.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That almost that group dating feel online, right? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is good because people then get to feel people out. They get to see like how some people may respond, right, to certain questions or discussions and things like that. And that's a lot of times what even maybe draws people attention or lets people know like that may not be the individual for me. And so those are really big things. I mean, we see that the same way in even conferences, right? Like you said, people may go and visit a GYC conference or ASI, things like that, where they're actually going to connect and they see other people and how they interacting, right? And that interaction is something that either opens them up to have more discussions or lets them know, like, again, right, this may not be somebody that they vibe with, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously these are short moments and snapshots in time, right? But again, sometimes that's all we need in a lot of instances to know whether we want to move forward or not, versus the, kind of a lot of the other dating sites that you see. And, you mentioned like the eHarmony and some of those, you also have some other baser sites, right? Where it's really only a vain metric, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just simply on how you look, right? And so it seems as if y'all built in other thought processes around not making it something where it's only based on necessarily features. You know what I mean? Is that something that you guys wanted to make sure that you captured as a part of y'all site as well?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We wanted to make sure that we didn't focus it just on looks. There's no swipe right, swipe left
Yeah.
on Ember. So it's not just on looks. We don't want to make it too serious. Like, sheep and the goats. Where do you put this person? Like there's none of that. There's none of that on. There's none of that. But
Oh
it's one of
man, that's
those.
hilarious.
It's one
Yeah,
of those.
no Matthew 25
No
around here. You
Matthew
know what I'm saying? The
25, man.
sheep
We're not.
separating the sheep from the
We're
goats.
not
Oh,
sending
that
anyone
is
to
so
hell on
hilarious.
Ember. So,
Yeah,
but it's one of those things where there's a sweet spot, right? So it's like we want it to be SDA. One of the things we battled with is, should it be Christian overall or just SDA? We thought about Facebook and how Facebook started for just Ivy League schools,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
expanded. So we said let's deal with SDAs, see if we can eventually expand out. That's where the Lord leads. Other than that, we thought about the other concern. Give me a second here.
That's okay.
The other concern was making it too serious, right? So it's like it's an
Mhm.
SDA site. There's some sites where it's like, listen, please upload your baptismal certificate, and we will get it verified before you join the site, right? And it's just like, I get
No,
that.
are you being funny or are you being serious right now? Because
No, I'm dead serious.
I'm taking this as a joke, but I'm feeling like
I'm dead
this is.
serious. I'm dead
Oh my
serious.
goodness!
There's a website, an SDA dating website, where it's like, upload your certificate. Like, we need to know that you're in
Wow.
good standing. And it's like, so all these things, people don't
I'm
really.
glad I'm married, by the way, because I actually don't know what my certificate is. I've been looking for it. You know what I'm
You
saying?
would have
That's
been,
that's pretty
you would have
bad,
been on
but
your own. You would have
I
been on your own.
actually don't know where it's at. But I'm good though. I'm
You're good.
good.
You're
You
good.
know.
You're good. So these are all decisions that people don't realize when you're making something. You decide everything. Is this button going to be square? Is it going to be round? How round is it going
Yeah.
to be? The color, like everything on the website, literally Nayla and I have had to like decide what it's going to be. And
Mm,
it's like sometimes there's the curse of the creator where it's like you're like tweaking this one little thing and it's like literally it doesn't matter. Like it's good enough, right? But it's like the decisions of, do we make it super serious where it's like baptismal certificate, or do we make it open to whoever wants to join, right? So we found a
mhm.
happy medium where in our terms of use we say, if you're joining, you have to be an SDA, right? But it's like we're not going to be inspecting people, because the way we look at it is, if I had a church event, I wouldn't be inspecting people at the door, right? So it's
Mm,
like the website is even more open to the world than my church, right? It's like this is for a lot of people going to be their first introduction to Adventism. And do they
mm,
want an introduction where it's like, now you can't join unless you're. So it's like, that was kind of our line of thinking where it's like, listen, they see the terms of use. If they decide to join anyway, whoever meets them is going to find out they're not SDA. If it becomes a problem, then we might have to label profiles as, what's your denomination? We're not there yet. And so we just want to keep it open. We don't want to be too restricted, because we are still trying to reach a sick and dying world, people that need the truth, and we want to
yeah.
keep doors open. Um, and so those decisions were some of the ones that we had to make. Um, and I forgot what was the original question. Like, what were some?
Yeah, we're just really just trying to ask, for you guys to basically talk about some of the things regarding like the vein metrics, right? Because on some of these other sites, you got the sheep and the goat phenomenon, the
Yeah,
swap
yeah, yeah.
swap left, swap right, and that something that you guys put into your thought process, and you was talking about that, and also shared that you also didn't want to, you had to make the determination of, what side of the spectrum you're going to be on as far as how strict versus how lenient you were going to be as far as membership.
Yeah. So another issue that we had to deal with along a similar vein is, okay, are we going to ask people to upload a profile picture when they sign up? And a lot of websites don't require a picture, and you have like thousands of people. I don't know what you look like, so this is a joke, right? Like, so we said no, this is going to be a hardline requirement during registration. You got to upload a picture. So those are the type of decisions that we know that having that there is going to knock out some people that are going to be like, nah, I don't want to put this. But at the same time, we want good quality candidates on our site. We don't want people that are just like there to see but don't want to be seen type thing, where it's like, no, you got to put a picture up. And so those were some of the issues that we kind of grappled with. Some other issues, when it comes to the status, right? So we have single, never married, single, widowed, single, divorced, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that a lot of people in our community are in tough situations. Their husband is in another country, their wife is in another country. It's a loveless relationship. Like, he took the kids, she took the kids. And in some countries, divorces take years, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like the US everywhere. It could take 5, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So at that point, what does the person do? A lot of those people are looking for love, right? So do we make an accommodation for people where it's like single, it's complicated, right? So we've had to wrestle with that. And if we get enough feedback from people and there are different situations, I guess we'll revisit that later. But for now, we wanted to keep it like as in the pocket as possible and say, listen, like, you have to kind of be legally single to join, right? Like,
right. No, but it shows the background of how, when we're going through this process of building a business, and especially building a Christian business, right? We have to have we have to wrestle with the conversation of, how am I going to go about market? Can I market the same way my competitor markets? Well, I can't, you know what I'm saying? Because some of the way they market, right, cuts against the grain of what it means to me to be a true follower of Christ, right? What type of, I want to connect people online, right? So that they can find love, because it's valuable, right? This is a valuable way for us to connect, but can I do that in the same exact way that another site can do? No, I can't, because I have my Christian values that I got to connect to. And I think this is just a reality for all of us, right? All of us who are watching this have to remember, when it comes to me and real estate, how I am as a realtor, right? How I connect with my clients, things that I've seen other realtors do that I say, no, I can't do that, right? Things that builders do or whatever. But I say no, because I'm a Christian first, right? I'm a follower of Christ first. And so when we're building our businesses, these are the tough, discussions that we have to wrestle with, right? And really make a determination on. And I'm happy that you really allowed us kind of behind the scene to some of the things that you guys have had discussions on, to let us know that what you really are putting together is something that really is for the benefit of every single user that's going to be connected on this site, and at the end of the day, you want to put them in the best position, to be able to actually connect with the person that God has for them. So
for sure. One other thing that came to mind was the issue of, I'm a man seeking for a woman, or like I'm a woman seeking for a woman, so there are a lot of SDA sites. There are a couple, there's at least one that I saw where it's like so there are SDA sites that are not built by SDAs. It's just other companies that I feel like they tack on random denominations just so it can get them excited. But it's really like, I'm a man looking for a man, I'm a woman for a woman. And it's just like, what? Like, what SDA would kind of market? So realize that. And I believe there's one SDA site that's owned and operated by.
That's another big company, I think, right? That's you talking
Another
about?
big company,
right? They have it's like a branch of that, company, another dating site that company had. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's like owned and operated by SDA, but then it's like you can say that you're seeking for someone of the same sex, and it's like that kind of goes against like what we believe as Christian Seventh-day Adventists, right? So that was kind of an easy decision for us, but either way, it was like we had to actually cross that. And eHarmony has gotten sued in the past for that, right? And now they kind of opened up they capitulated to the pressure, and now they have like other sister sites where you can kind of like in the border where you can
Mm,
kind of like you know date in an alternative
right,
way, right?
right,
And
right,
it's just
right,
like, so I mean, all these things were going through my mind legally. Like, okay, so what are the implications of us doing this? Like, can someone actually sue us? And honestly, I don't care. Like, when you follow God's law, there's a sense of peace where it's like, I'm
yeah,
right in the middle of God's will. Like, I don't care about that. But that's something that we had to wrestle with, as far as
hmm,
being inclusive and not trying to make people feel left out, um,
right,
or feel judged. But at the same
right.
time, like being good stewards of what God has given us.
Right, right. And I think that's, what I've found. And I think there was a couple cases a couple years ago, that was an issue, right? There's that flower shop, I think, out west.
Yeah,
I think it was in Washington, and it was like a baker, I believe. They were kind of in the limelight at the same time. One of them won their case, one of them lost. And what they found and what they showed was that the individual, that won their case, it was because in their business practices, right, in how they operated, it was clear that they were operating based on their biblical principles, right? Based
yeah,
on the principles that were given to them in the word. It's like the same thing as say like a Chick-fil-A that says, look, we believe in Sunday, right? And so we don't work on Sunday. So
yeah,
there, I mean, all around, you can get a franchise anywhere you want, but guess what? You can't open a Chick-fil-A on Sunday. That's a part of how you franchise it. So you don't have to believe in Jesus and go say, I'm gonna run a Chick-fil-A franchise, because
yeah.
guess what? It's a great franchise to run.
Mhm.
But guess what? It doesn't matter. You can't open it on a Sunday, though. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And so, in
yeah,
the same way, right, those different biblical principles that are important to us, we have to uphold them, right? And
yeah,
like you say, if we uphold them and stick true to them, God is going to honor that, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And He's
sure.
going to take care of us, you know what I mean? And we just have to be out to impact and to connect with the people that God desires for us, to connect with. So, I appreciate you just sharing all these different things about the site. Happy to know that it's open. I'm good. I'm good. But what I'm saying, you gotta be clear. You have to be clear. You know what I'm saying?
You got, I
You
mean,
gotta
family,
be
man.
clear.
You got cousins, brothers.
You gotta be clear. But I know many individuals, have many friends, right, who are online, right, who are looking, right, what I'm saying. And so to have a site that's particularly our own, because that's really how I feel about it, right? It's
Yeah,
just like and you have all these different places that you can go, but now it's like, man, we have something that's our own, that's made by us, that's made for
yeah,
us, right?
yeah,
That we can go to, and that we can embrace, and feel comfortable embracing. And I think that's the main thing, as I'm hearing you talk and share about Ember, is that I feel comfortable with even sharing this as something that we can embrace, for my brothers and sisters to connect with. And this is open up to anybody all over, right? This is not just, you know, you
worldwide.
know, it's the world. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
just making sure, because people gonna ask these questions,
it, it's
you
it,
know.
it's worldwide. And on top of it, we wanted to make the site Adventist. Like, I know you're saying like for us bias type thing. It literally is Adventist to the core. Like, so for instance,
Yes.
when you sign up, we ask you what school you went to. So we list like all the SDA
Mm.
schools around the globe. Like,
What you
not
like on your haystack? Nah, I was-
what you like on Doritos or chips. No, but we ask for all the SDAs. We have like all the schools in the US, and we have most of the major schools around the
That's
globe.
dope.
Like, we have
That's dope.
Cologne in France. We have Newbold College. In
Mm.
England, we have Avondale. In Australia, we have a bunch of schools in Africa, South America. Excuse me. So wherever you are, when you put your school, if you're, if you're an alumnus of a SDA school,
Mhm.
you get a little badge on your profile. It's like, oh, SDA alum, which to me, I kind of, even if you didn't go to one, right, it kind of
That's
sends a
dope.
message that like this is like what non-SDA would be like Andrews University, Oakwood University. It's like, yo, this is literally like an SDA campus right
Yeah.
here. That's the feeling we want to give, where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, this is this is like through and through SDA. And
Right.
I hope people get the feeling and the intentionality. And even the flame, like our logo is like a little flame. It doesn't look like, it's kind of similar to the SDA flame, but not too much. But I mean, it's close enough that the SDA logo has a flame. We got a flame,
Yeah.
and so we have these little things that are there to kind of tie us together, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you said
Yeah.
that.
And I love the name in general too. And you haven't really shared about that, right? Because when I heard it, I was like, that's fire, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is fire,
Yeah,
literally,
yeah,
too.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the name is actually fire. So how did the name come about as well?
So to be honest, like I was thinking about around the time that I was thinking about the name, you know, Tinder was like popping off, and it was like, you know, Tinder burns very quickly. It's used to start a fire, but once the fire starts, the tinders are burned away, and it's the actual logs that you have that burn for
Hmm.
hours. And those embers are sort of the remnants of those logs. Like they burn the longest, they last the
Mm,
longest. So after the flightiness, after the tinder has burned away, right? After the infatuation has burned away, right? That deep abiding love resides, that orange glow.
mm,
And we believe that's the love of God, right? Like that's the love that sustains us for years, for decades with our spouses, through thick and thin. It's that ember. So we made the name in opposition to Tinder, kind of, where it's like we're not a Tinder, but we also like the idea of fire because it represents the Holy Spirit, right? It represents um, like there's a fire burning within me. You know, it's
right,
passion. You know,
right.
it's faith. It's everything. So we our prayer is that the relationships that are formed on our web
Mm,
um, last the test of time. You know, they last after the sparks are gone and the flames are gone. That ember just resides in the hearts of whoever meets and eventually gets
mm.
on the website.
Hmm. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And man, you said something right there because you said, look, the ember is the remnants, you
Mhm.
know what I'm
Oh,
saying, of
the
when the
remnant.
things go away.
There we go.
Yeah, I ain't
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
caught it. I ain't think you
yeah,
caught
yeah.
it. You know what I mean? It's the remnant of when they go away. So, you know, man, I really appreciate you. I'm actually going to just take a second, man, just to, like I say, pay some bills, talk about our sponsor for the day. But after that, what I would like you to do is, right, as we close, it's just, speak directly, to some people out there who are online, right? They're saying, okay, I'm going to sign up for Ember, right? But what are some tips that you would give them to, like you say, position themselves to be able to find that individual, right? Because even though they get connected with a site that's made right for them to connect, yet there's probably some things that you would say these are some best practices and some tips for them. And so, can you do that for us as we close?
Yes, sir.
Cool, man. So let's talk about this sponsor real quick. So today, our sponsor for the Lion and the Lambo podcast is Tentmakers 101. Tentmakers 101, where Christian principles fuel business practices. And I know you may be saying, am I a tent maker? Yes, you are a tent maker. If you have a gift, a talent, a product, a service, any business that is seeking to follow in Jesus' footsteps and meet the needs of the community so you can impact them with the everlasting gospel. We're meeting every day on Facebook with other entrepreneurs to foster growth, collaboration, and strategic partnerships for increasing your brand awareness and your revenue, because we truly believe that every business is a ministry. And when you accomplish God's purpose in the world in the form of products and services that provide true value to your particular target audience, then guess what? You are truly successful. So don't wait. Join us now on Facebook at Tentmakers 101 Biblical Entrepreneurship. And my boy Phil is on Tentmakers 101 too as well, right? We be connected
Sure.
on there. So, you come on there, you connecting with one of the two starters of the Ember, the fire, right? You know what I'm saying? And so I want you to just share with us right now, for those people who are trying to, grab hold of that fire, right? That ember to keep it going. When they connect with somebody, right? What are a couple tips that you would give them, right, to really make best use of the site that you guys have?
Yeah. First tip I could give you is be in the right mindset. Realize that relationships are something that God has given to us to
Mm,
enrich our lives here on earth. And the most important relationship outside of the one with Him is the one with our spouse. And so, first off, say no to the shame, say no to the guilt of feeling like you have this need that you want to meet. It's a godly need, and God is opening up this door with Ember for you to potentially meet the one that He has for you. So I would say step into it boldly, step into it knowing that God is with you. Um, Also, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. Just sign up. It takes a couple minutes. Um, put up a good picture of yourself. Describe yourself a little bit in the intro section, and just see what's out there. Sometimes what you're looking for may not look what you think it's going to look like initially.
Hmm.
So be open in the people that you meet. Don't put a lot of pressure on introductions. Sometimes um, you'll discover things over time. So I'd say sign up, give it a try, spread the word, and play some games, join a discussion, create an event. You can create an event on there, um, whether virtual or in person, and just take advantage of all the features we have. This is made by Adventists for Adventists. This is the new online dating campus. We're happy to see you at Ember on our website.
I like it. The new online dating campus. Again, man, Phil, again, thank you for joining us, coming and locking in with us with the Lion and Lambo podcast, where we discuss biblical entrepreneurship, impact, and true success. And I know that what you're building, what you have built, is going to have so much impact on the community. So again, just want to tell all you out there listening, right? Don't just watch Phil and his wife have success and impact the world. You go out and impact the world as well. Talk to y'all later.